Okay, and we're back with another episode of building an effective regression analysis trading strategy. Um, by effective, I just mean it doesn't violate any of the conditions necessary to create an effective analysis. I don't know if it will be one that outperforms. In my experience, finding a linear relationship anywhere in the stock market is pretty damn near impossible. As soon as somebody identifies that, they make a lot of money immediately, and it doesn't work anymore. That's a gross oversimplification. Finding linear relationships in the stock market is very hard, but we're going to try to do it anyway, so we can learn and then maybe extend our knowledge from there. Now we've passed step 2 of 4 of the 4 necessary rules for regression analysis to be valid, and that was independence of errors. Today we're doing step 3, which is homoscedasticity, or making sure that all of the residuals are in the same this means that the residuals don't go through an obvious behavior change in the middle of your study. So what's a good example of that? A good example of when homoscedasticity is not found would be if you're conducting a regression analysis over a period of time when a company did a stock split. So the share price would go from, if they did a 1 to 2 stock split, it would go from 100 euros or $100 to 50. That's not good. That means you're regressing on two necessarily different points in time. Like it doesn't work at all. So any of your assumptions won't work either. And that'll be obvious through another residual plot that we're going to be making today. We're going to be plotting an example of it being wrong, of us violating the homoscedasticity assumption, and then we're going to correct it. Homoscedasticity is generally resolved by Yahoo Finance's auto adjust capacity when you load in the data. So by default, it might actually give you a message. Yahoo Finance has set auto adjust to be true. Whoops. Just get rid of this. If we run all, does it give me a little notification that Yahoo Finance has set auto adjust to be true? Would love for that to be the case. Yes, has changed auto adjust default to be true. So that means that if there is a stock split, we're still looking at the adjusted close price that doesn't account for that sudden change. What I want to do is, I can think of a couple examples of companies that have done stock splits. I'm going to change auto adjust to be false and then see if I can show you how that would impact our residual plot. So first, I just want to print out the close prices in our data acquisition function for Tesla, which is an example of a company that's done many stock splits. Over the course of however many days they have, RSI, and then interval, we're going to change auto adjust to be false. No, that's in the wrong part of the function. Auto adjust is going to be false. And I want to print or take a plot of the data frame close prices. So plt.plot data frame close to show you if that gives me what I'm looking for. I forgot to make it a new figure. Or maybe I just forgot to make this a new figure. plt.plot, nope, plt.figure. Make this a new one. And then we'll have Tesla shares since 2010 here. Now, let me look up the date when they did their stock split. Okay, well, after trying that out, I'm realizing that Yahoo Finance actually doesn't store stock split data. I tried on Tesla, Google, Amazon, and Nvidia. So all of those companies had stock splits, but Yahoo Finance isn't storing them. So the adjusted close and the close price are really, really similar, but not quite the same. And I learned that that is because they are adjusting for dividends and not for stock splits. Yahoo Finance doesn't want to store two versions of share prices. That's hard to do, and it requires a little bit of money. The aim of this study is to show you how you can learn for free. So we're sticking with Yahoo Finance. They're limited in demonstrating a heteroscedastic data set. And we're just going to move on. We're going to skip the part where I show you a bad example. Sorry for that. And we're just going to show you that we're using a good example. So how do we test for homoscedasticity using a plot the same way we always have? And here is the interesting part. The test we used for homoscedasticity is actually not going to show you anything different to this code. We're actually going to be taking a look at the same plot that we used to establish a linear relationship. So, when we were first building this test, when we were building step one of this four-step test, we were testing for linearity of residuals. And what we wanted to look out for was any curved shape that was just a nonlinear relationship between our features and our target. Now, we did not see any curved shape, but we did see a fanning shape. Now, a fanning shape is what suggests a lack of homoscedasticity. That means there's a different type of environment that occurs as our study goes on. And I'll show you what that looks like. On Tesla, it's not so bad, or I guess on Nvidia, it's not so bad. But on the S&P 500, over all of the data that it has, so there's a shape here. It's a subtle shape, and it's not one that would raise any serious alarms. But you can see there's some gentle fanning. There's not as much variance at the start of the study as there is at the end. So what I would do personally is just chop off this study in the middle, where the residuals appear to not show a clear pattern here at the end. I'll show you an example of us doing that with the S&P 500. Instead of doing 10,000 days, let's just do 5. And then see if that changes the pattern. Still not what I want. So instead of 5,000 days, let's do 500. That reduces our look-back period to 2 years, 2 trading years, which is not what you want, but if you want your regression analysis to be valid, then that's just how it has to be. Now, great. There's no pattern here. There's no obvious fanning in our residuals versus predicted values chart, and there's no clear change in how they move. So there's no fanning, there's no curved line. That means it passes both the linear relationship test, the homoscedasticity test, and we have also passed the independence of errors test, meaning that these errors aren't related to each other. There's no pattern, and unfortunately there's also no pattern between the feature and target variable. But this is what we want to change in the future. This chart, what we would like to see is a relationship, hopefully a positive or negative linear relationship between our features and our target. This is a great example of a random looking plot where there's no obvious fan, there's no obvious curve, so it passes both the linear and homoscedasticity test. And here is the lag plot of residuals, which we did in our last episode. If there's no obvious relationship in a linear, curved shape, you name it, then that means we've passed 3 out of 4 tests by reducing our look-back window to just be 2 years. And we can extend that, or we could just, for example, change the ticker. The S&P 500 has gone through a lot. Tesla is a newer company, so we can max out our look-back window for Tesla, and I don't think we'll see any patterns. 10,000. Run everything. Great. And there's no pattern for Tesla either. There's not a clear pattern. There's no fanning. There's no curved relationship here. This is just randomly scattered around 0. Perfect. You can conduct an effective regression analysis, or you can trust the outputs of our regression analysis based on these 3 tests so far. And there's still one more we need to do. So stick around for the next episode where we establish the normality of residuals, and that will be a slightly different looking plot. If you've stuck around so far, this is a really good learning for potential interview questions down the line. If a common one for just introductory levels is just, if you're running a regression analysis, what are the 4 requirements that need to be met in order for you to trust the outputs? And I think if you understand what's going on in this series and you've watched these 3 tests so far, and you, when I'm speaking about how you can view the patterns presented in these charts as indicative of no relationship, then you have a really good understanding of regression and what you need in order to trust its outputs. We've got one more episode coming up next. I'm super excited for it because then we can get straight to building actual trading strategies with regression that we can trust. That's super exciting. It's really easy to conduct regression analyses. It's a little bit more difficult, as you can probably see by now, to conduct effective ones. So we're now going to have all the tools we need in order to trust our studies and then build really advanced trading strategies, or you name it, systems based around these tests. So we've got one more plot coming up next episode. Thank you guys so much for following along, and until next time, stay sharp.